Rishi Sunak's Rwanda plan suffered its first defeat in the House of Lords yesterday when peers voted by 214 to 171 not to ratify the agreement.
Yes, so the unelected chamber has been accused of acting against the will of the people, with some accusing peers of purposefully torpedoing the Prime Minister's Rwanda plan. So this afternoon we're going to have the debate. We're asking, is it time to abolish the House of Lords? To
debate this now, we're joined by two perfect people, Conservative peer Lord Shaun Bailey and the leader of UKIP, Neil Hamilton. Shaun, let's start with you first. Neil wants you out of job. What do you say to that?
I think, Neil, people misunderstand what the job of the Lords is. If you look at the history of this country, the Lords has helped make this country take small steps in the correct direction rather than big yaws one way or the other. And it's interesting, people always want to do something about the Lords when it doesn't give them the result they want. The Lords is part of the political process. Parliament has regularly not given me the result I want. I always want a Conservative government. I don't always get one. So I think actually people need to understand what went on. And yesterday in the Lords, although the government lost, what people would have seen is a very detailed, long debate that really looked at the issues and didn't just fly off the handle. People looked at the debate. I wish the vote had gone a different way, but it was a very high-quality debate.
Is it not the case, though, Shaun, and I hear you, but is it not the case that some of the peers in the House of Lords are attempting to delay the Rwanda plan for as long as possible until there's a general election?
Undoubtedly, that's their plan, but you could say the same.
That's not part of the democratic process, though, is it, Shaun? Really?
Well, it is, because undoubtedly you could say the same about many Labour MPs. The point being, wherever you sit on this, the Lords is there to refine, the Lords is there to scrutinise, and that's what we have done as a body for time immemorial. And a lot of British law is copied around the world. An important part of that process is the Lords scrutinising and looking at it. And I wonder if people would be saying, such as Richard, let's get rid of the Lords, if it's given them the result they want. It's not about giving people the result they want. It's about making sure that we refine our laws and look at our laws properly so they actually work.
Neil Hamilton, this is a case of just more centralised power handed to unelected people, isn't it? But that's partly why we voted to leave the EU, because none of them are elected. We wanted to control our own laws, our own destiny. Yet these 700 plus people, including Shaun, by the way, in the House of Lords, nobody voted for them. And they're now going up against a Prime Minister that the electorate didn't vote for and a Chancellor. So isn't it now the time to start seriously thinking about abolishing the House of Lords?
Well, the House of Lords is a constitutional absurdity in the 21st century. Whatever legitimacy it might have had in the 19th century is completely alien to the modern world. Yes, British law may well be copied around the world, but no other country in the world has copied the House of Lords as part of its legislative structures. There may be high-quality debate in the House of Lords, but that isn't really what matters. What matters is democratic legitimacy. We know that an overwhelming majority of the British people want to see a much stricter control of migration, and 89% of the people think that the House of Lords should be abolished. Yes, there's a debate to be had about what's going to replace it. There are plenty of alternatives. We could have a second chamber which was more reflective of the different regions of the United Kingdom. We could have a House which is elected at different time from the House of Commons, and there are lots of ways in which we could enhance democracy in this country rather than detract from it, which we've got at the minute. Because look at the people who are in the House of Lords. It's a house of cronies, party hacks, party donors, bishops, and who is more irrelevant in modern Britain than bishops in the Church of England?
Neil, you're a small C Conservative, are you not? Yeah. And you seem very radical in your approach to our constitutional frameworks, our House of Lords. Has it not overall served us quite well? Did you change your view since the Brexit debate?
Well, of course, the House of Lords would have frustrated Brexit. It's full of basic people of a Lib Dem mindset. It's the Brexit debate all over again, isn't it? Alex Carlile, a former Liberal MP whom I served with in the House of Commons for 14 years, said that the purpose of the House of Lords is to protect democracy from itself. Now, that's the overweening arrogance of the political class that regards the electorate as the dirty, unwashed and ignorant rednecks
I don't agree with that, Neil.
Need to be kept under control.
That's
and
not
the
right.
people who know best
Neil,
how they should be governed and how people should
one.
live their lives are those in the House of Lords. Now,
No, Neil, I'm sorry, Neil.
Let's get Shaun's response to that.
I'm sorry, Neil.
Neil, deadbeats there as well. I know the House of Commons
Neil.
is full of them, but at least they're our duds and deadbeats. We can kick them out in a democratic vote
Neil,
if we
I'm
want to.
gonna
You
bring in
can't do
Shaun
that
here
to
to
members of the House.
respond.
Isn't it an absurdity that you're appointed
Neil.
for life?
Goodness
to
me,
be a
Neil.
legislator
You're
in
on
this
fire
country.
today. Let Shaun come back on that.
Look, what Neil has done is that typical thing of putting words in people's mouths. If one person has said that and believes that, that's their view. That certainly isn't my experience of peers. They're very thoughtful about what they do, and of course there's a high level of expertise in there as well. And people are very mindful of the fact that they have to represent the country. That's why, for instance, constitutionally, if push comes to shove, the House of Commons can overrule the House of Lords. It's why the bishops tend not to vote against the government. They'll vote in the first round to register their opinion, the registered opinion of their congregation, which actually is a very large group of individuals, bigger than most constituencies, as it were, so maybe bigger than one MP. The point being, the idea that it's a group of people who have no idea what they're doing and they're just playing party politics is actually so far from the truth, it's unbelievable. Again, I want to go back to the fact that the House of Lords sees itself as a place that is to scrutinise and refine laws and test laws, and that's what's going on. I sat in that debate yesterday, and it was a very high quality debate, and I voted for the government, but even I sat there and thought, well, they do have some points, the government has to answer those points. And in the House of Lords, we have no limit, no time limit on debates, which is good, because it means we get all the way through the detail, and it's always delivered for the best of the country.
Shaun, can we meet you halfway then? Can we say, the 784 peers currently sitting in the House of Lords, which, by the way, they don't all fit in at once, do they? What happens when they're all in for the day?
There's two things I'd say about that. Obviously, I'm very new, and my opinion on that would be, look, you have the House of Lords is effectively part-time in a different way to an MP, and you have people who are expert in a very few areas, very expert in a few areas. So you tend to congregate around the bits of legislation where your expertise really works. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
The other thing as well, those 700 peers, they don't get paid unless they turn up. So you've got lots of people who never get turned up, and they don't cost the country anything. But you have peers who've turned up
but
very regularly.
How many don't turn up when you're going to get 300 odd quid just for tapping your pass on the reader? Is there people that
again,
can't be bothered?
that's such a childish and disingenuous way. People spend hours and hours and hours going through the paperwork, making sure they know what they're talking about and know what they're doing for the country. Many of the ministers in the House of Lords don't get paid, but they do a full ministerial job. So you reducing it just to tap it in for 300 quid, that's not fair. It isn't right. That isn't what goes on.
There
People
you go.
do the work.
That's your view. Neil, Shaun says very clearly that the peers in the House of Lords take their duty very, very seriously to scrutinise legislation to make sure it is the best it can be and workable for the British public.
Yes, of course, there are a lot of good men and women in the House of Lords. Many of them are my friends, old friends, that I served in the House of Commons with. But the point is, at the end of the day, who is actually going to decide what the government of this country does? Is it unelected peers in the House of Lords, or is it a government elected by the people that is fulfilling a mandate which overwhelmingly opinion polls tell us is what the people want to see happen with controls on migration? And I'm no great advocate for the Rwanda bill, by the way. I think it's a distraction from the real issue of uncontrolled mass immigration. But I still come back to this point. By the way, I've no real complaint about the vote yesterday, which is merely to introduce a 21 sitting day delay in the treaty being ratified. So that's no big deal. But if the bill were ultimately to be thrown out by the House of Lords, that would be a different matter altogether, and that would be perfectly possible.
Yeah.
Fewer than half the people entitled. Fewer than half the members of the House of Lords voted yesterday. So that's another point at issue here.
Okay.
In the House of Commons,
Neil Hamilton, we'll have to stop you there, unfortunately, and wrap this up. Thank you for your time. A fascinating debate. Lord Shaun Bailey, Conservative peer, and, of course, the leader of UKIP, Neil Hamilton.